Hello to all you lovers of miniatures on the interwebs. I'm Doc Eon. It's another Monday, and I'm here to ramble. It's Monday, the 7th of November, 2022. And the preliminary ramble might be a bit short because the two figures you're looking at here are everything I finished this week. So the deputy here, I decided to go not paint him blue or tan, I painted him green as, I don't know, a kind of park ranger. just to do something a bit different. And the necromancer, I made a combination of blue and red. We have reddish brown boots and gloves, a blue hood and dress. The hood is actually supposed to be a slightly different color of blue than the dress. They turned out very similar in the end. Weird. And then we have this cloak, which is kind of red shading towards yellow, orange tips. I like the effect, how it turned out. But yeah. I thought I was going to get extra painting done this week because, as I mentioned, it's a week off from work. But turns out I'm not feeling it. I'm kind of in a slump. I'm kind of in a I don't know. I need to take a slight break from painting. I don't have the enthusiasm for it. There's a slight exhaustion. And yes, I've gotten a lot of stuff done this past week, but just not painting. So, yeah. Not sure when my enthusiasm will come back. I know it always does. These little dry patches can last a few weeks or even months sometimes, but I always get my mojo back eventually. So, we'll just have to see. I'm not worried. I'm already in the black for this year when it comes to painted versus purchased, and I'm actually very clearly going to get into the black in total when I sum up what I've done since I started keeping track. So I'm happy with my progress already this year. I'm not worried if I don't get that much done in the last couple of months even. So, yeah, I'm fine. No need to worry. Let's move on to the works in progress. Some progress has been made here. I have sort of added some color to it through the various forms of corals and barnacles that are sticking to this thing. It's not completed, still needs some work, and there's still after that a few details that need fixing. I need to touch up the skeleton. I need to, because some of the paint has gotten onto the skeleton from the coral, and I also need to probably blackline the borders of it to make it stand out, and so forth. And then we have this undead giant who has at least received base coats on all parts, and some parts are more finished than others. Steady progress has been made. And this figure, not much progress, very little, some base coats. And I realized this one also has a spider emblem on her bag, so maybe this is actually supposed to be a drow. Oh well. We'll deal with that later. These Wild West Wizard of Oz characters have been prepped, in the sense that I have cleaned the metal minis, assembled them in some cases. The monkeys were in several parts. They've been glued together. Dorothy she actually had two optional hands, one empty hand and one with a pistol. I went with the pistol because that seemed better. And as you can see, I I've made these brick bases in Milliput, and I have managed to get Toto into the Milliput, and hopefully it hasn't obscured the brick pattern too much, so you don't think about it. And because he needs to be on the base as well, Dorothy is kind of off center, but that's okay because the composite, you have to look at the two figures as a composition as a whole. I sort of screwed up the basing of the Scarecrow. He's a little too off center. He should have been a millimeter more to the left from this view, but oh well. I'm kind of a perfectionist that way. I think the Tin Man and the Lion turned out great, and the monkeys, because they have these rocks they're sitting on or standing on, were part of the figure, so they couldn't be on the yellow brick road itself. So I just did some dirt around the rock, and I'm just going to do normal nature basis with some grass and stuff for them. And then we have these transparent minis. So the loot golem, he is, I mean, the base is all coins, and looking, it's hard to tell, but the intent is probably that there should be some jewels stuck amidst all the coins that the body is mostly made of. For example, the head, it's not where the head would be, is just this huge flat faceted gem with a setting. It's like a huge ring. It has these little projections that are clearly intended to be metal setting for it. So I guess the idea is to paint the gems clear and then paint over the clear plastic where it's supposed to be metallics or other stuff like wood or whatever, or cloth, like for the spears coming out of his back. So yeah, this is going to be tricky. And there's a whole chest sitting here in his back, so that has to be painted over. It can't be clear. So yeah, this is going to be tricky. I have to paint, in the sense that I have to paint very carefully and try to look at it long and hard before I put paint on it, so I don't put solid paint on a surface that's supposed to be clear. Anyway, the gem dragon is somewhat easier in the sense that this rock that's sitting on should probably be rock, though there are some crystals sticking out here that could stay clear. Then we have the gem dragon itself, where I think I could keep the body entirely translucent, but I'm unsure whether to mount it on the base before painting. There is a good bit of clearance between the feet and the body, so I could possibly affix the dragon itself, because it's kind of tricky to hold it in any other way while painting. I could like paint the underbody first and then glue it on, possibly. But I think the wings will have to be attached after the painting the body, at least. I'll have to wait a bit with that, because they will hide too much of the body of the dragon otherwise. So yeah, these two are not the simple projects I'd hoped. They are kind of tricky and time consuming, but oh well. We'll make do. Now when we come to the question of what to paint next, it's possible that I don't need to prep anything else at all for next week, because I might have enough to do with the already prepped stuff, but I always like to have something in the pipeline. So I've thought about what the next stage is going to be, at least, and I've decided out of the Kickstarter to pull first off, a couple of classic monsters. This is a basilisk, and this is the Catoblepus, or Catoblepus? Catoblepus. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's a very odd monster. Not many people use it, but it's a classic D&D monster. Has been in at least since the first AD&D monster manual. I'm not sure if it's older than that. I wasn't around in OD&D days. But it's an odd one, but it's a fun one. And then we have this collection of Wood Elf Rangers with their pointy hoods and bows and cloaks. These two are one piece, and then there's 3 more that need to be assembled, more or less. But they are clearly a unit, so, you know, I will paint them in unified colors. That's the idea of having a quick project to you know, relatively simple. There's some scale mail underneath here, but otherwise it's mostly just their cloaks and robes and a few pieces of gear. So that'll be simple. And like I said, I'm not sure if I'm even gonna prep any of this for next week. I probably will. I'll probably at least be cleaning and assembling it. But when painting can get started, yeah, that's an open question. But anyway, that was this episode. I hope it was entertaining or informational or both. And I hope you liked it. I hope you give it a thumbs up and a comment and subscribe and, you know, all the usual YouTube stuff. But most of all, be back here again next week, same day of the week, same channel, same document. Who's now signing?